How are you, Charlie? I'm going to share my screen. Hi, Charlie. Welcome back to F.A.C.E.
Great. Thanks for having me.
All right. So
Can you see me?
Let's see. I'm going to be sharing my screen here. So while we're on,
you can now
don't see you yet.
Yeah, you can also share your camera if you want. I just unlocked it.
Okay, you got it.
So Charlie.
Yeah.
All right. I don't see your camera on, but go ahead. Just hit the video. Hit the video button there, and that'll put your camera on. Anyway, video. Yeah, start video. Okay, there.
There we are.
All right, buddy, you're right underneath me. So right. Okay, all right. So
modern technology.
We've had a pretty good decline in the markets here this week, Charlie, and what great timing for your writings about why short selling is an important function of the market. And I know you also wrote about Chanos going to Washington, but why don't we start off? Why don't we start off with the attributes and what's important about short selling to maintain market balance, et cetera, and why they make the market more efficient?
Well, I just want to point out that I've never been this sort of huge fan of the short selling. I mean, Jim Chanos is a guy I've known for a long time. Personally, I really like Jim. I consider him a friend. But, I was critical of his Tesla short, not on fundamental reasons, just for other reasons. I just thought it was such a cult following that it wasn't going to zero anytime soon. I was really critical of Bill Ackman's Herbalife short, and you can look it up. I wrote a lot of stories about it. So I can't tell you how many stories leaked by shorts to me that I just turned away from. Like, I didn't care about, dog shit company XYZ being it just wasn't big enough for me. So I'm kind of in an odd position here, being some guy that's saying, we need more shorts because I am not that guy that, there are reporters out there, that get 99.9% of the stories from the shorts side. They made a career, and a good career, out of it, just, touting the short thesis on everything.
You mean the one with the first name of Herb?
He's a good friend of mine, and he's an excellent journalist. But yeah, Herb,
why do you think he gravitated towards short selling? I mean, at the beginning of his career, I remember seeing him. He talked about buy side and everything. I'm wondering what really was the paradigm shift for him to, especially in the greatest bull market in the history of the U.S. Turn towards short selling.
I think Herb is an honest guy, and I think he was really worried about the notion that the real problem in the markets, when it really comes down to it, is not the short sellers, it's the touters. I mean, the natural inclination is for stocks to go up. That's why so many average people, when you tell them, hey, you can make money betting stocks go down, they're like, well, why do you want to do that? And how, they can't believe it. So the natural inclination for markets is to tout stuff, and it always has been. That's why we've had so many bubbles over the years. And I think that's what drives Herb's enthusiasm for shorts, and that's essentially where I come out on this as well. It is the markets are Wall Street is one big touting machine. It occurs at the big firm levels, and analysts looking for access to CEOs and for the firms to underwrite deals. I wrote a book about it, years ago, about 20 years ago, as a matter of fact. More than that. God, I'm getting old. When did I write Blood on the Street? 2000 about 20 years ago. 2005.
Yeah, how many years ago was that? Yeah, you're talking about 26 years ago, Charlie. So, a lot of people that short sell, a lot of them were in, like OTC markets, and they had all kinds of targets because of, really, that's real speculative type stocks, and it was easy to pressure them. In fact, the opposite of short selling, what you call investor relations of corporations, the opposite of sound machine.
Right. I mean, it's
people to buy. Go ahead.
Corporate America this whole market is set up to tout stuff. Right. So you need that other side, and if you're going to quash that, it's absurd. Now, what was fascinating about the whole GameStop thing to me is that the short sellers didn't do anything wrong. I mean, if you listen to these, I mean, I was listening to, what's her name? Maxine Waters, the chair of the House Financial Services Committee. She was talking about predatory short selling. The predators weren't the shorts. It was the guys on the other end, the guys that were, buying the fractional shares
Squeezing
or whatever
them.
of
Squeezing
GameStop
them.
and pushing it up to $500. That was the predator. Those were the predators. So I thought it was a good time to weigh in. And listen, here's my view of it. We need more short selling. Now, obviously, there are bad guys on the short end as on that side as there are on the touting. I do not believe that Jim Chanos is one of those bad guys. He does very good research. I don't think Gabe Plotkin, the guy that ran Melvin Capital, was doing anything predatory other than betting that a video game retailer that's in malls is just not going to make it in the future. And it's a good short. It's a good negative. It's a good short. So I think markets need more short selling. I think we're in a dangerous place when public policymakers are like saying you can't criticize a stock, or we're going to put limits on how you criticize a stock. By the way, Dale, how does a short seller can, I guess, in the short term, drive a stock down? You borrow the shares, you sell it. Okay, I get it. But over a long term, it's all about company performance, and it's just. I mean, how did Tesla? By the way, Tesla got better when the shorts exposed it. I mean, it's
That's
fascinating.
A great point.
Here's what's fascinating. The shorts, and I covered this.
They make companies accountable.
Right. So, but listen to this. This is key. Elon Musk will never admit this, but remember, early on, the short position was that this is a company's numbers don't add up, and it could go into bankruptcy.
People are still saying that, Charlie.
Okay, but listen, who conceded that point recently? Elon Musk said when they were building, I think, the Model 3 out, when they were very close to bankruptcy. He said it. So my point is, the shorts exposed that. He got his act together. He got the production better, and that's why we need short selling.
That's a great point. So the short sellers point out the chinks in the armor of a company, and then the company has a chance to address it. And maybe they wouldn't if it didn't go public and people were trying to press the value of their stock down. So is that the most noble part of short selling? Is liquidity also part of it?
A market is a debate, isn't it?
Yeah. And why are only shorts predatory, Charlie?
Oh, that's the whole thing.
They're not why aren't predatory? Yeah, I mean, was it predatory?
There's a whole research business out there where these OTC companies and some non-OTC companies pay for research. Okay, I get it. Wall Street firms, they pay for research if they go to Wall Street. They pay
for buying, Charlie.
Yeah.
I worked IR for a little while, and you know what? That's their currency. Their stock is their currency,
right?
And they'll pay an IR firm in either free trading or restricted to come in and bring buyers into their stock.
Right, but it's sometimes it's even more pernicious than that. They pay a research outfit to put out research.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah,
I mean, that's a business model. That's a business model out there. Pay for research. Wall Street pays. How does a company pay Wall Street for publishing positive research? Even though there's much more controls. Trust me, I wrote a book about it, and I broke a lot of stories when I was at the Journal that led to those controls. There's much more controls of that these days. But Wall Street hires these firms as underwriters, right? If a firm, if a buy side firm says good things about a company, sometimes the company benefits them in certain ways. Access, Wall Street is a tout machine. Trust me.
I believe you. Okay, so you think we've addressed this short selling thing? Because I want to switch gears a little bit to the Fed.
Go for it. All
right. So here's a 10-year yield. We had a decent NFP number. Okay, so I thought this might be it, but we're still going. Do you think that Powell's making a policy mistake by not jawboning and saying he's not concerned about rates going up right now? I've heard people say that.
Say that again, Dale. Say that one more time.
Okay. Do you think that Powell is making a policy error by not jawboning about rates going up and saying it's fine, it's normal, and it means that the economy is improving?
I think it is. No, I don't. Listen, I think the bigger problem would needs. I don't know if the Fed weighs in on this stuff, but it's the fiscal policy that I think is really, really problematic right now. I mean, $1.9 trillion of spending on top of listen, I'm getting my vaccine today. Okay.
Oh,
I'm getting it. I have, for once, my hereditary high blood pressure it pays off, I guess. So I
okay.
qualify.
Yeah.
I'm getting I'm getting stuck with a needle today. By mid-April, I'm gonna be booking at least 2 vacations. Okay, that's it.
The whole country feels that way, Charlie.
Right. So now think about that. Think about the massive stimulus that's going to come via vaccination on top of spending $1.9 trillion of money, on top of 0% interest rates and everything else. I think if Powell says anything constructive, it should be, hold off on the fiscal stimulus right now. We need to.
He went hat in hand for over 6 months.
I know.
That
I
we
think that's
need fiscal to pick up the ball.
That's the problem. Listen, no one would care if you did a fiscal stimulus that said, let's get needles into everybody's arms, and anybody that's part of the restaurant industry, one of these industries that are, just got decimated, right? You own a restaurant, I mean, you're screwed. Friends of mine own restaurants in New York City that are just crying every day. They're hanging on by their fingertips. Some are going out of business. If you want to give money to those folks, yes, they're literally giving people money that have good jobs and have been saving money. I mean, it's just such a waste of cash. And on top of that, that money has to get back into the system at some point. And that's, I think, what the markets are doing. And I think if he's going to do anything constructive is to say, stop, with the fiscal spending for now. Take a breather. It's unnecessary.
So you're kind of into Larry Summers' camp, isn't that what he said? That
first time I've ever agreed with him.
All right, well, there you go. That's history.
I mean, listen, Larry Summers,
making news.
Larry Summers, is a brilliant man. I don't put myself in his category of knowledge of economics and finance. I mean, he's a really smart guy. But I generally don't agree with him on policy stuff. Secular stagflation, I never quite bought, and I think that was turned on its head during the Trump years, to be honest with you. But I agree with them on this. This is playing with fire, and I think the markets are saying that. But let's put this into it. I was just watching, and I hate to say it, I was watching CNBC. You should know, even though I work at Fox Business.
All right, let me ask you. That's a key. Is the volume up or down?
No, it was up, and one of my best friends is the executive producer of Squawk Box. So I was watching it. And he told me that they had Scott Gottlieb on, the infectious disease guy, that the doctor that's on the Pfizer board. I wanted to hear him, but I think it was Joe Kernan or one of them made an interesting. But Joe made the point that who's by the way a friend of mine, still friends with Joe, even though we're on the other side of the fence. That in 2000 the 10-year was at 6%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The last time we had something like this,
these are the lowest rates since the Civil War.
Yeah, I mean,
the first Civil War. All right.
Yes, right. This is nothing to worry about,
Yeah. Okay. So we're looking at what's happening with the markets, and you're talking about overheating. So, does the letter K that people are using to represent the uneven recovery transform into a V?
I think so.
Are we going to finally, the people that are, were struggling before the pandemic, and the pandemic magnified it? Are they going to be able to participate? We had good numbers today, so they're rehiring.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this pandemic has been devastating for certain pockets of the economy, and we know what that is. Those pockets. Everybody else is done, at least economically. I mean, obviously, if you caught COVID, it's trust me. My brother got COVID. My brother's a doctor. He runs the ICU at Brooklyn Hospital. He got COVID early on. No fun. But if you got it, that's not good. But if you didn't and you worked from home, you were able to, and you were employed, you were able to save a lot of money and do pretty well. But certain people, got destroyed and crushed. Those people. Oops, sorry about that. life should be getting better for those people, just logically, right? As I go out and spend at restaurants, when I go out to eat more, I used to go out to dinner in Manhattan three times a week at least. I go out maybe once every other week now, and but as people start returning, those jobs, that sector of the economy is going to pick up at some point. I mean, it has to. Especially if people feel more comfortable eating inside, and we don't get another second wave, and people get vaccinated. I mean, this is we've had multiple second waves, I should say, another wave.
Yeah.
This has a potential to pick up dramatically. And then,
all right, well, you talk
is
about
clearly it. Something you worry about.
All right, so then let's talk about another wave. Texas reopening completely, 100%. No minimums on capacity in bars, restaurants, anything. What do you think?
Connecticut, where I am right now, is reopening as well. Not as much as Texas, but they are reopening significantly. No bars, but restaurants 100%. You should look up what Lamont has done. We should point out that some of these states like Texas and Florida, I know people that are there that are saying it's, life's pretty normal to begin with. They did not lock down that harshly. It's not like they're doing a 180. They've been moving in this direction, particularly Florida. A lot of my friends are down there saying, get your rear end down here now, because, sometimes you have to wear a mask, sometimes, but it's about as normal as you get. And so, I don't think Texas is the 180 that people think. And even at its height of when they had a spike this summer, the restaurant, the hospitals were crowded, but it wasn't it wasn't like dire. People were dying in the streets. So I think they understand how to handle things.
Charlie, everyone knows your political side that you're on, and you're a conservative guy, and yet
although I was called today a liberal, someone called
a liberal
me a
conservative.
Some Looney Tune on Twitter called me a rhino. I don't know.
Maybe were you publicizing that you're getting a vaccine? So
I think so. Yeah. It's interesting that some of these diehard Trump supporters are more outraged that I'm getting a vaccine than they were when Trump said you could shoot bleach. I mean, it's just so nuts.
Well, and you know what? It has come out that both former President Trump and Melania had COVID shots. Don't you think it would have been kind of a normal thing to let your followers know that you're doing this and that it's okay to do it, and encourage them to do it, instead of it having to be found out and brought to the public's attention by the press instead of him?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why he did that. I mean, it's Donald. I've known Donald for years. I actually like him. He's such a strange guy. You know what I'm saying? It's just he's perplexing, and I mean, he did so many good things with the economy. He did some stupid things, I believe, with trade. He did a great thing with Operation Warp Speed. He lost the election. He could have just said, I'm going to spend my final days making sure the vaccines get out there and helping the two Republicans in Georgia win that race. And I guarantee he would have been renominated in 2024. And now it's just he still has a loyal fan base, but there's a level of toxicity to him right now that is just so bizarre. And I can't get my hands around like why he does what he does. But
okay, I think I think that you're probably not alone. Even his own family, I think at times probably. So, what do you think the Capitol will ever return to normal, or are we going to have it be a green zone forever? I mean, even Congress took a day off based upon QAnon conspiracy theory. It's hard for me to believe that just these kinds of reports are going to stop the government from functioning.
I don't think the government's going to stop functioning. Listen, I'm actually more worried about stuff like Portland, where literally Looney Tunes control the streets every day, and
it's still bad up there.
Still bad. Yeah, Minneapolis, you name it. New York City is is horrible. I don't know if you saw what I posted on Twitter last week. I was in the city. I was there for a couple of days working out of the Fox headquarters there. And then I went out to dinner that night at my friend's restaurant right off Fifth Avenue, in one of the most expensive parts of the city. It was a ghost town. It was horrible. It was homeless guys. A guy in broad daylight on 6th Avenue and 47th Street pulled down his pants and defecated in front of me. I'm telling you, this city, New York City, is so bad. And I'm more worried about what's going on in places like this than the Capitol right now.
Okay.
The Capitol, listen, it is what it is. I'm far from a QAnon supporter. Trust me on this.
Okay.
But man, I mean, what's going on in big cities right now with crime and homelessness is really scary.
Yeah. So, it's ironic that we're finally going to have some relief despite variants with COVID, and
Right.
hopefully, things are going to turn around. It's hard for me.
Some guy named Len, by the way, some guy named Len said, "You don't sound far from a QAnon supporter." Jeez.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
maybe.
that's my fault for going there. But
Len should take the needle out of his arm. It's a little
Yes.
early for that.
Yeah. So anyway, Charlie, is my bad for going to political.
No, that's no problem.
What are your sources saying about this recent sell-off in the stock market? Could garden variety? I actually think that the S&Ps could make a case for maybe another 15% lower from here over the course of time. Take us back down to about 3,000 in the S&P. It's kind of a Nostra Pinkert call. But what are your sources saying about what's happening, especially the leadership in NASDAQ, which led on the way up is leading on the way down? Do they think that we have a change of regime, and the narrative about reflation, gold's been getting hit? The only commodity that's hanging in there strong is oil. So what do your sources think about what's happening?
Why help me out here for a dumb reporter like me? Why is gold selling off when you're worrying about inflation?
Yields.
Okay.
So it's all about yields and opportunity costs. So when yields were low, there was no opportunity costs in
I got
gold.
you. So
all right, but they're still nominally, yields are still, under inflation, right? If we're running at 2. So there's not as much opportunity costs. But what are they saying to you, Charlie?
Listen, a lot of smart people have been wrong about markets over the years. Floyd Morris was a famous columnist for the New York Times, and I remember for 10 years before the NASDAQ blew up, he was calling for the NASDAQ to blow up, and every year, or about 5 years, but it never came. Then finally it came. So remember, just where smart. Sometimes markets. Jim Chanos is a really smart guy. He had all the data on Tesla, but he missed it. There's all these extraneous factors. I mean, one thing I do hear more is people are worried about inflation more and how that will impact markets. I mean, that is something that if you talk to anybody on Wall Street, they're looking at that.
Supply chain issues being part of it. How do you explain shortages of semiconductors?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot. I mean, then there's will the average basket of goods, once people start spending money, the real inflation, not just financial inflation, will that ever crop in? And if that does happen, that's when Powell has to raise rates, right?
Well, a guy who used to go out to the restaurant 3 times a week probably hasn't noticed what's happening at the grocery store. It's already there, Charlie.
Yeah, well, I go to the grocery store a lot right now. It's still pretty inexpensive, it's still reasonable, but if the average person gets hit with this, man, then he's got to raise rates, doesn't he? And who knows what happens then?
How about rents? I mean, people are paying exorbitant rents everywhere, all over the country.
Not New York. They're coming down. One of the good things, and I put good in quotes here about what's going on in New York, is that rents are going down.
So you could get a studio with a closet for about $4,000 now in New
Yeah,
York?
3.5. They're going
Okay.
down. I mean, just there's a theory that all those abandoned shops on Fifth Avenue will be converted into high-end apartments. I believe it when I see it, because but there is a theory that in these cities, as everybody sort of spread out and socially
Yeah.
distanced,
Yeah.
that in the cities, because of this glut of office space, that rents will come down because people will
Convert them
yeah, I mean, it's
to
so
condos.
it'll be, I don't know if that's true or not, but by the way, you have to have people willing to live in New York City, and you're not going to, if homeless guys are chasing you around the block, they're not going to want to live there.
All right. Well, Charlie, I hope you have no reaction to your first shot.
Thank you,
Are you
Dale.
getting a J&J, or are you getting the Moderna?
It's
No
either
idea?
it's you get what they give you. I don't think
Yeah.
the J&J is ready yet. I think this is
Okay.
Moderna.
All right. I didn't have a reaction. I get my second next week, and
Good luck.
stay healthy, my friend, and thanks for extolling the virtues of short sellers. Not many people do that, and I hope Jim Chano sees the interview and knows that there are guys out there in the broadcasting and print media area that see what they do is not predatory.
Yeah,
Okay?
I will send him the link. How's that?
Okay. All right. Well, everyone, thank Charlie for being with us today. Have a great weekend. Charlie
Thanks, guys.
Gasparino. Follow him on Fox Business and New York Post. Great articles. Or follow me on Twitter. Charlie drops his work off to me. I tweet it out there. So thanks again, Charlie.
Anytime, Dale.
Appreciate you
Talk to you
coming
soon.
in, buddy. All
We'll
right.
do it
So
again. Bye-bye.
that's a wrap, everyone. Hope you had a good NFP day, and we'll see everyone on Monday. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And again, as I said, we'll see everyone on Monday. Adios. Thanks again, Charlie.
All right.